Monday through Sunday, 24 hours a day, we pumping out independent radio, commercial free, because that's how we get down. None of that stuff you've normally heard before. We're not going to run, in consistency, we consistently play music that other people beat to death. No, they don't beat to death. But anyway, welcome. KRFF 95.9 LPFM allows people like me, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, every Thursday to get up in here, 4 to 5, 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. This Thursday's no different. We got a lot of cannabis news and related info to give you today. So stick with me. Right before me, Side Stage with Trav, 1 to 3 here on Thursdays. Then you got Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me blowing through your earwaves right now. 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. So stick around for that. And then right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. Locals on the, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Locals on the 8. Radio Madness to follow. Then Black Ring Ritual rocks you into your Friday morning. And then you get a whole nother set of DJs, a whole nother set of variety. And it just keeps right on going. So if you want to donate, go ahead, radiofreefargo.org. There's some merch there you can purchase. If you want to be an underwriter, reach out the same way, and we'll take care of you. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. That's now, 4 o'clock. That's right now. 4:20, that's in a few minutes. We'll talk about cannabis in a condensed version. No filler, straight cannabis news. And again, we got a lot to talk about, so we're going to get right on it. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy, blackcottagealchemy.com, Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. You can go right downtown here. It's a beautiful day. I think it's like 30-some degrees. That wind's a little brutal that I had to buck on my way to the studio, downtown Fargo. Tochi products right out my window here. Come on downtown. Get in there. Buy some Black Cottage Alchemy products. Made with kosher full-spectrum CBD, North Dakota-grown hemp seed oil. 1,600 milligrams of CBD in a container, so wrap your brain around that. Mango butter, shea butter, cocoa butter, beeswax, coconut oil, toe butter, just kidding, colloidal silver, turmeric, arnica, comfrey, myrrh, frankincense, sage, and rosemary. Which, myrrh and frankincense, it is the holiday season, so we got you covered there. Neuropathy, pain, inflammation, eczema, psoriasis, diaper rash, dry and irritated skin, acne, rashes, cuts, etc., wrinkles, and all over soothing. So go get you some of that. Tochi products, odds and ends in West Fargo, or blackcottagealchemy.com. Thank you for sponsoring this show. Again, Tochi Products, where you can pick that up. Indie for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition is also inside that beautifully painted building. Orange Records also has the Indie for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition, and other places do too. North Dakota CannabisCaucus.com. They are wrapping up their push. And again, fingers crossed, a lot of signatures still yet to be put in the coffers. So if you ain't done nothing and you're feeling froggy, they could really use you. But if you're not ready to really work, forget it, because they need the crazies out there pumping right now, because it's end game, and they're still a ways off. So if you're looking to just spend the next month just grinding for cannabis legalization, we'll get a hold of IndieCannabisCaucus.com. Until then, Orange Records, Tochi Products, other places here in Fargo has the signature petition you can sign. Indie for Freedom of Cannabis Act, again, is the petition being circulated as we speak. So, again, if you're in North Dakota, look up where you can sign and get your signature on a petition. Legislative session begins in January. Who knows what those freaks in Bismarck is going to be doing against us, the people. It seems to be them versus us now, and that seems to be the way it works. If you don't believe me, just Google South Dakota, Christie Don't Know, Amendment A, and then listen to all that stuff. You know what I mean? Now, however, I believe God created cannabis to grow up out of the ground just like every other seed-bearing plant, to use for what we need. And that goes for whatever we need. And I show him props at Antioch Church every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. If you'd like to do that, you can do that as well. Because, again, I believe without him, we wouldn't have cannabis. And I wouldn't be here talking. So I think people need to give the man you can't see props for giving you something you can see. And you can see results for whatever it is you're using. I mean, for your beautiful, soft hemp pants, or for the medicine that you put in. I'm waiting for the day where you can, what's the word? And you might already be able to do it, like albuterol. What do they do when they put it through the breather nebulizer? So I don't know if you can nebulize cannabis, but if you can, and as we talk at 420 about odorless and all that sort of like stealthy way to destigmatize Because again, the only thing bad about cannabis is the smell. Because nobody can say, oh man, that guy was a mess. He was walking into stuff, slamming into stuff. No, that guy was driving a truck, talking to his grandma on Bluetooth while he was navigating Atlanta. You know what I mean? But the cop pulled him over because it looked like he might be carrying too much, or maybe he had a taillight out, and all of a sudden the smell became a problem. But nothing else was the problem. So I believe once you remove the odor, we can remove a lot of problems. But again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday here on the best radio station in the world, as far as I'm concerned. KRFF 95.9, Moorhead, Fargo, RadioFreeFargo.org. Just want to tell you about Listen One, Listen All. We have our next benefit for the KRFF LP Radio Free Fargo 95.9 FM on Friday, December 17th. That's next Friday, 2021, 9 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. for you freaks. This is 21 and up show to be held at the Aquarium, a.k.a. Fishbowl, a.k.a. above Dempsey's, 226 Broadway North, floor upstairs, downtown Fargo. An evening of straight rock at the turntables. Not my words, but them. Dance and fun to be had. DJs performing will be Medical from Minneapolis. And local DJ talent, they're also pushing their jams here on KRFF Radio Free Fargo. DJ Kilometer P, Star 4, and DJ Ictomi, the Friday night frequency DJs, and just general overall good freaks. $3 minimum donation at the door to benefit 95.9 KRFF Radio Free Fargo. Radio Free Fargo, always and only the best. So come out and support local radio and independent music. Just do it. All right, so we got some music up here for you, and I'll be happy to give it to you. I've always been waiting for this to be on the music platform that I use. I was going to say Indie Cannabis Caucus is not what I'm going to say. Canna-Talk ND is on Instagram. I post when it'll be up on YouTube minus the music, and I'll let you know that as well. And again, if you're listening on the podcast platforms, one with the word pod in it and the other fruit, I thank you for your continued support. But always come to RadioFreeFargo.org first. Thursdays, 95.9, Radio Free Fargo, 4 o'clock, 4:20. I'm going to be blazing up some cannabis news. And so come here first. Or if you can't, well, listen to it then. And I'm just grateful that people are listening. All right. So here we go. Here is the Superions, Fruitcake. Merry Christmas. Yummy Fruitcake, the Superions, a.k.a. Fred Snyder, a.k.a. B-52s. That's from 2010. And for me and my daughter, that was when Christmas started. I mean, when we were driving south, somewhere between, Sioux City and Kansas City, out of nowhere would come this instructional on how to make the one thing most people don't want anything to do with. But if you wanted to make fruitcake, you just listen to Fred Snyder's Fruitcake song. And not only are you going to know the horrible stuff that goes into it, you'll probably know how to make it. Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9. Welcome. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson's what you're listening to. And we are certainly glad that you're listening to it. At 4:20, we're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news. ND for Freedom. The Cannabis Act is what's being circulated as we speak. 21 plus to possess, 12 plants, 6 mature, 6 non. Orange Records, Tochi Products, you can sign down there. And again, it's the only thing going on in North Dakota. So support. So get out, get your signatures in. And again, I mean, cannabis legalization isn't going to go away. You're either going to be the one who helps or you're the one who just sits back. So it's up to you. But, if you want a little clout, if you want a little praise, maybe get to working. Because when it's all said and done, the reason cannabis becomes legal is either because you helped or because you didn't help. So if you want to, with a straight conscience, go, hey, I put in the work to make sure cannabis was legalized for everybody in the state of North Dakota. Well, then get off your hind end, get that fruitcake out of the oven, and go get some signatures. Feel me? Canna-Talk ND with Wilson again every Thursday, 4:20. Open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what I'm going to do right stinking now, of course. I'm going to play a couple ditties, and then on the other side of this, we're going to get down to business. I've got several pages, a lot of different variety of topics related to cannabis. So again, right before me, Side Stage with Trav, 1 to 3. Right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mark, Locals on the 8, Radio Madness, Black Ring Ritual. This is what's happening on Thursday. Thanks again for putting your time in and listening to the best independent radio station as far as I'm concerned. Now, Kendall Street Company, we got brand new music, and then we're going to do Stanley Birdmouth to get this thing going. Radio Free Fargo. You're so high, I'm an oyster. Stanley Bird Dog Mouth, one of my favorite songs by Kendall Street Company. Right before that, Strolling by the same name, brand new, here on Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9, radiofreefargo.org. We got Canna-Talk ND right on the other side of here, but I have to say, this hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by S&S Incorporated. S&S works one-on-one with you to provide personal or business tax preparation, accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll services. Schedule your appointment with them at their West Fargo offices located at 458th Street East, Suite 104, or visit them online at facebook.com/S&S Incorporated. For more information, check out S&S Incorporated for all your tax preparation and accounting needs. So we got that out of the way. Let's rock this show out, all right? Canna-Talk ND on the other side of this, Radio Free Fargo.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. You know, the super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every stinking Thursday at 4:20. We got a little late start here, but hey, it's a show about cannabis. I mean, I don't have to be on time, do I? As long as I get the word out to you, the cannabis should be legalized. Cannabis should be benefited by everybody, and we should be focusing on getting the vets some much-needed relief instead of focusing on this other thing. Feel me? But we're going to talk about cannabis here every Thursday, 4:20. I get you a big fat bag of cannabis news, and we're going to do that right now. Indie for Freedom, a Cannabis Act, is the petition being circulated until January 22nd. You can go to indiecannabiscaucus.com. They'll show you how many signatures they got, and from my personal opinion, it no look a goodie. But again, negative attitudes never get anything done. But realistically, it's get to work. Anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson supports anything that pushes cannabis legalization. So shout out to them and all their hard work. And fingers crossed that we get ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition on the ballot. But at least we just are always out there getting out the word, never recanting, never going backwards, always going forwards. So again, educate yourself so you can educate others on the benefits of cannabis, like I like to say. And we'll get pushing here. Cannabis moment. Kentucky governor wants to let farmers sell cannabis to other states. Well, that's awfully nice of Kentucky, isn't it? The governor says cannabis is the future. Boy, he's pretty smart, isn't he? And a part of that future should involve letting farmers grow cannabis to sell to other states. Absolutely. Governor Andy Beshear talked about how cannabis is a priority, legalizing is a priority in the upcoming legislative session. This is the future. It's where things are going. He said of medical cannabis. It's time we join so many other states in doing the right thing. Beshear, who called on lawmakers to pass a reform during the State of the Commonwealth in January, said it is past time to legalize cannabis for medical use and that the plan can provide some relief for folks that would otherwise turn to more damaging substances. And I always say the only side effect of cannabis is the smell, and you may feel a little goofy. You might feel actually happy. I know, it's horrible. But then when you think about it, the side effects of all the other things that you could take for medicine, I mean, you're just high. You're just high. That's what happens. And then all the side effects that come with it. Constipation, to mention one. Dry mouth. I mean, man. I mean, and on painkillers, you could eat until like that Monty Python skit, until your body blows up at a local restaurant. Because the pain that tells you you're full, that's what I always noticed on painkillers, that I love to eat. I could eat and eat and eat and eat because whatever would be painful in my gut, like that pain receptor, would be like, hey, don't have more fried chicken, playa. You've already had 65 pieces. That guy's on vacation. That pain receptor just ain't working, you know? And so, again, I think we forget about all that. The side effects of cannabis is the smell, and you're happy. And then it does its job. But anyway, let's keep cooking. Missouri police, as we say, state of misery, couldn't use cannabis odor to justify searches under a new bill, and that's awesome because misery, or otherwise known as Missouri, is probably kind of like a South Dakota. I mean, those cops, dare I say, suck. The Missouri lawmaker on Wednesday pre-filed a bill to make it so police can no longer use the odor of cannabis alone as justification to conduct searches of a person's home, vehicle, or other property. The move comes as efforts to more broadly legalize cannabis are heating up in the state, both via the ballot and in the legislature. Representative Ian Mackey, Wacky Mackey they call him, Wacky Tobacco Mackey actually is his nickname there, is sponsoring the new legislation, I made that up, which he said is meant to build upon the state's 2018 vote to legalize cannabis. The one-page bill text simply states, notwithstanding any provision of law, the odor of cannabis alone shall not provide a law enforcement officer with probable cause. Missourians overwhelmingly voted to legalize cannabis as medicine, so to allow officers to continue search our citizens simply because they smell cannabis or medicine is discriminatory and wrong. And I say a big fat amen to Wacky Tobacco Mackey. It's time for Missouri to follow the example of other states on this issue. Again, my new favorite buddy, Representative Ian Wacky Tobacco Mackey from Missouri. So keep up the good work, Wacky Tobacco Mackey. Now, this is from Normal. No, it's not. It's from MaryJane.com. There's now an odorless cannabis strain reportedly packing 35% THC. This was published December 2nd by Chris Moore. Ontario residents will soon be able to blaze jizzoints all day without disturbing their roomies, neighbors, or parents with the dank aroma of weed. Now, I think if you're burning something, what do you mean it's odorless? I mean, can you combust something odorlessly? You know? I mean, what kind of voodoo is that? Canna-Co Pharmaceutical Corporation, a licensed Canadian cannabis producer, just unveiled a new strain of weed, which I mean cannabis, that the company claims is completely odorless when smoked or stored. The company's new PURECANN strain is also exceptionally high in cannabinoid content. It's got total THC of nearly 35%. This sky-high THC level reportedly beats the highest THC flower currently sold in Ontario's government-run adult stores by at least 3%, so you can get 30%. They began developing its proprietary and smell-masking technology several years ago. Initially, the technology was designed to help medical cannabis users escape the negative stigma against cannabis. But the company quickly realized that it had a much broader application. The company also claims that their tech reduces much of the harshness typically associated with smoking dry flower. We are always pushing the limits, they say. With the demand for high THC strains, it made sense to target the same in odorless variants. When I say abso-stinkin'-lutely, adult use cannabis is completely legal in Canada, as we know. So the stink of a burning blunt is unlikely to land someone in jail. Still, a majority of people say they hate the smell of cannabis smoke. And one recent survey found that 60% of Canadians want to completely ban public cannabis smoking in national and provincial parks. Cannabis odor can also be an issue in enclosed areas, including most apartments and condos. And again, if you have forced air like the Gardner, we have like 3, because it used to be a hotel, and it's got 3-inch clearance at the bottom of your door because there's forced air. So everything inside your apartment goes out your apartment into the hall, pushes it down to this little doodaddy down the hall in a door. It sucks it up, it filters it out, and the process repeats. So if you're cooking curry for 48 hours, or if you're burning if you're burning the green for 48 hours, you're going to be trackable, And so everybody's going to smell it. So when they get off the elevator, if they don't like it, they're going to have to. And then if a cop comes to say do a domestic check on your neighbor, and you've been blowing the reef up under the door, he's going to stop at your place on his way out with that crazy straitjacketed dude as well. So that's the thing. So odorless is really pretty important. And again, as a Christian, if somebody's in church, as somebody who medicates, and utilizes it. I mean, I don't smoke it because I think that's the least healthy, and I don't need it immediately. If I were to need it immediately, I would utilize, ways that would provide immediate relief. But I've been limiting and, mostly, not doing any particular thing like that. But again, you add odor, I'm a sinner. You take odor away, I'm just a guy at church wanting to, show my props to the man upstairs, just like the guy sitting next to me. So odorless cannabis is really a great idea. I can't wait till it gets done. However, I don't smoke because, again, I think it's the least healthiest way. And if you get a smoker's cough, that's not healthy, right? So to remove that is just to utilize other ways around it. But again, that's good information. Minnesota, regulators okay patients access to cannabis-infused edibles. Minnesota this year also allowed flower, finally. Under the plan, patients in the state's medical access program will be able to purchase cannabis-infused gummies or other similar chewy products on August 1st, 2022. Currently, qualified patients are only permitted to obtain cannabis products in forms of pills, extracts, blah, 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 blah. Earlier this year, though, they approved the program to include access to herbal cannabis. So that's going to begin providing cannabis flower in March. Minnesota lawmakers legalized patient access to limited formulations of cannabis in 2014. Currently, some of 27,000 Minnesotans are registered to access medical cannabis and products. So I don't know how many people in North Dakota, but a lot less than that. Now, anti-cannabis Indiana governor backs proposal to set up legalization rules if federal prohibition ends. The governor of Indiana isn't personally in support of cannabis, but he says he's on board with having lawmakers pass a bill to set up the regulatory infrastructure for a legal cannabis market. That said, he'll only be open to enacting the reform after federal prohibition ends. Governor Eric was asked about cannabis policy during the end of the year. He was asked whether he'd object to Indiana lawmakers at least starting the process, and he said he didn't mind at all. So I think we're seeing a lot of turning in that particular stuff. And here's our favorite idiot, Governor Pricketts. Old Governor Pete Pricketts, he's got himself doing some stuff that we don't like. Nebraska governor partners with prohibitionist group on ad opposing medical cannabis. And of course he is. And I mean, prohibitionist, I mean, people are still using that word. Get your life together. But anyway, here's Governor Pricketts. He was featured in a 30-second ad that was paid for by Sam, Nebraska, an affiliate of Smart Approaches to Cannabis, and which began airing on local TV stations this week. I don't know how I'd get a hold of it. It'd be neat to watch it. I don't even know if there's a link. Oh, there is a link. I don't know. Maybe I should try to play it. I don't know. Today, the cannabis industry has set its sights on Nebraska, and the real goal is the legalization of recreational marijuana across the state. We've seen what happens when progressive politics trump science and common sense, he said. That can't happen. It's up to us to protect our kids and defend our communities. Big cannabis way is the wrong way for Nebraska. While the ad ignores the political reality that there's strong bipartisan support for medical cannabis, the governor's talking points are at least more tempered than his remarks in May when he said, cannabis is dangerous, that will impact our kids. If you legalize cannabis, you're going to kill your kids, which that is just insane. All right. The governor's running $500,000 in anti-medical cannabis ads across the state. They did the same thing with casino gambling, and we all know how well that worked. That's State Senator Adam Moorfield. He blasted Ricketts, tweeting that he supposes the governor is taking steps to make the 2022 election be a referendum on cannabis. Nebraska governor, get your life together, buddy. But anyway, yeah, that guy just won't go away. And this is from MJ Biz Daily. New rash of California cannabis robberies threaten survival of businesses. This one here, to Oklahoma, it got just lit up. Literally, a spat of violent robberies targeting cannabis businesses in the San Fran Bay Area last month have thrown into question the survival of several small businesses, with the combined losses of those operators estimated to be at least $5 million. That's million for you non-street hit people. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. We're right in the middle of it. We started at 4:20, open big fat bag of cannabis news here at KRFF 95.9. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can stream it wherever you are. And we're just pushing through. Stick with me. I got more stuff to talk about. The crimes range from break-ins that resulted in minor damage to, in some instances, wild gunfights between criminals and security guards. According to media reports and sources, at least one person was shot, and a scandal has emerged over San Fran police officers apparently looking on while burglars made off with cannabis products from a store they broken into, which cops have started doing that a lot. You know, I mean, you can run into CVS and, you know, pick yourself up some facial cream and maybe some vitamin D if you're not getting any sun, and you can salute the cop that watches you on your way out the door. It's America. The prime takeaway from the most recent rash of thefts and vandalization, insiders said, is the fragility of the companies targeted and the fact that they're targeted with disturbing regularity by criminals look to make an easy buck. And the thing is these guys can get their own cannabis, but now it's branding. Now you get brands, you know. So if you've got brands like from the one guy that's in the one rap group that talks about insane in the brain, if you can get a hold of his stuff, well then my stuff, and I mean this literally, or not literally, but metaphorically or hypothetically, because I'm here to change the law, not break the law. So that ain't going to happen. But I'm saying, if I had two different kinds, and one was just in a bag, and the other was in the branded bag, I'm going to be able to get more for that, just because it's branded. And that's where dispensaries become kind of tantalizing for hoodlums. Blunt said his shop fared much better than a year and a half ago during the nationwide protest that followed the death of George Floyd. And he also said, I was safer and had more money selling on the street illegally. See what I'm saying? So Blunt's business was ransacked for hours. He lost around $700,000. And again, when you're running your own business in pocket, I mean, you don't even have any overhead. Put the product and maybe a gun if you got to. I mean, Oakland, I don't see Blunt, old Tucky B, roaming the streets without some sort of overhead incurred cost of protection. But he added he's one of the lucky ones. He says he knows 25 or so businesses that got hit. And about of all those, the percentage I know that told me they may not be able to reopen is about 50%. So that's scary. Multiple sources told MJ Biz Daily they fear that the recovery process for many of the 25 or so victimized in November, which is just a month ago, remains up in the air. The sources also said the robberies could spell the end for many businesses. Moreover, they don't see an immediate end of the trend. So Blunt stores one of the several cannabis companies that criminals targeted at least twice. He reckoned his shop has been targeted by vandals or burglars 10 times since opening in 2018. A lot of these folks are not open and won't be open for a while because they can't bounce back from these things. They don't have the runway and the extra capital. Many of the companies are targeted are small social equity operators that are by definition low income. So just wrap your brain around that. So they're robbing black people. They're robbing black people who scrounged to make a living in the American dream. So Stevenson's cannabis shop, Purple Heart Patient Center in Oakland, hasn't reopened since looters gutted. But he said he's finally on track to reopen with a few months. He goes, it cost him mid-six figures to get to a point where he's almost ready to open again. So it's just, man. So most of them are living and working hand to mouth. They don't have a lot of reserves in the bank. So my thoughts and prayers go out to these guys. Center said she hopes both city authorities will consider tax breaks for these businesses. Center said we didn't get into this business to shoot people. So should not direct guards to fire guns at possible criminals. Anyway, they could include deploying SWAT teams and add more guns. One option that could help vulnerable operators is the passage of the Federal Safe Banking Act, which I don't think that's going too good. But people were sitting on millions and millions of dollars. We don't have that. So Blunt said that if the SAFE Act were to become law, attempted break-ins at businesses like his would plummet tenfold or cut at least 30%. She also said criminals have learned that legal lab-tested cannabis products brings high prices on the underground market. And so people still have cash, but it's not like it was 3 or 4 years ago. But now they're coming in, they're just stealing branded product because that has tremendous value, and that's ridiculous. So here's another one from MJ Biz Daily. Mexico Supreme Court pays way for low THC cannabis production. Mexican Supreme Court threw out barriers to low cannabis production just as the nation is moving towards full cannabis legalization. But as you and I both know, we'll see that when we see it. I mean, these guys have been saying that since October 2018, right? In a ruling issued December 1, Mexico's High Court sided with Zebra Brands and its Mexican subsidiary, Zebra Mexico, and declared that the laws against growing cannabis below 1% THC are unconstitutional. The ruling, which can't be appealed, stipulates that a lower court now must ensure that the Mexico's National Health Agency implements the High Court decision. So Zebra was challenging actions to block it. Mexico's making progress, albeit slowly, towards full cannabis legalization, with the judicial branch leading the way. Last June, the Supreme Court issued a decision to authorize rec, even before regulations for the market have been settled, and those negotiations are ongoing, so who knows how long that'll be. So we got one more thing here. I'm going to zip by you, and then we'll wrap up this party. This is from Cannabis Moment. South Dakota voters disapprove of governor's handling of cannabis legalization, which we all know. And you can go back on YouTube, Canna-Talk ND. Last 2 shows, I really covered it in depth, so I'm not going to do that again. And you can always Google it. Kiloland is a good spot there, South Dakota news agency, and they keep you informed as much as they can. South Dakota voters are giving Christie good marks on her job performance, except when it comes to cannabis policy and the way in which her admin has sought to undermine the will of the electorate, which approved the legalization ballot measure last year, which is just horrible. So 1/3 of respondents said they strongly disapprove of the governor when it comes to cannabis, while 18% said they somewhat disapprove. 28% of Republicans, 38% of Democrats, and 39% of independents said they strongly disapproved of Nome's handling of the issue. Do some math. That sounds like a lot of percentage. Another 16% of the GOP voters, 23% of Democrats, and 17% of independents somewhat disapprove of the governor's actions. While Nome was up for re-election next year, and I don't know because it's, how conservative it is, and conservative is what's hip in, the kind of the states that where we're at. And that's getting even more and more serious, how people are becoming, more leaning seriously towards a particular color. And so I if I were to guess, there ain't no way in HE double hockey sticks that Christy Don't Know isn't going to get reelected. That's just me. Now, what she did was absolute. I mean, if I could and it was legal, I would drive there right now and slap the snot out of her for what she thought she was doing was the right thing. I mean, I would strap her to a horse, light the tail on fire, and shoot at her with those Nerf guns. And I'm just kidding. I don't condone violence. I'm a peaceful man. And I'm doing a radio show, so that probably sounded cooler to hear out through the audibles. Anyway, while Nome, again, who's up for re-election, has seemingly recognized the popularity of cannabis reform in recent months and has attempted to tie herself to the rollout of a voter-approved cannabis program, it appears the voters haven't forgotten how she adamantly opposed a separate adult use legalization initiative. In fact, it was a lawsuit funded by her admin that led to a court ruling voiding the rec cannabis law. So that's just a statewide poll shows 61.2% of registered voters strongly or somewhat support Nome's overall performance. Yet 2 South Dakota political science professors say Nome's divisive political approach is increasingly polarizing the state and the nation. The poll, which was sponsored by South Dakota Newswatch, involved interviews with 500 registered voters, and of the 5 topics on which Nome was rated in the poll, she fared by far the worst in regard to cannabis. The fact is, I've never met someone who got smarter from smoking cannabis, the governor said. It's not good for our kids, and it's not going to improve our communities, which sounds a lot like Prickets, So I wish South Dakota the best, and they're such hard workers, and they just plow. They just keep plowing in. And so I really respect these guys. And so what I want you to do is call the Nome administration, 605-773-3212, demand the truth. Find out how much taxpayer money did Governor Nome spend on her political lawsuit against Amendment A, and why did the Nome administration mislead the public on her involvement in the Amendment A lawsuit? Because on November 23rd, a Nome spokesperson in Ian said that Governor Nome did not ask Miller or Sheriff Thome to bring the lawsuit. Then on January 8th, Governor Nome filed an executive order stating, upon my prior instruction, Colonel Miller commenced the Amendment A lawsuit. So how does she explain that? Call her, ask her, because everybody wants to know. And then again, because if she hadn't completed the executive order, then they would have just thrown it out and Amendment A would have been groovy. So I mean that's bull, isn't it? I think that's bull. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. I get in here at 4 o'clock. I get everything warmed up. 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. And this Thursday was no different. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves, or at least was slightly amused and doesn't totally hate themselves for investing this hour in Canna-Talk ND to listen about cannabis legalization and just general word speak about somebody who's pro-cannabis and trying to educate you so you could also be a pro-cannabis duder, as they say. This segment of programming on KRFF 95.9 is being underwritten by Art Riot Promotions. Art Riot will design and print any business or personalized custom decal in a variety of shapes and sizes. Art Riot creates custom engraved gifts and promotional items. Art Riot offers flexible online or in-person consultations. Local in-store pickup or shipping is available for any order. Visit them at 819 Main Avenue in Moorhead. Art Riot is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can find them online at artriotpromotions.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram. That was your underwriter for this. Shout out Art Riot. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, 4 to 5. Right before me is Side Stage with Trav, 1 to 3. Right after me, right on deck, Stinky Arts Music Mart, Locals on the 8, Radio Madness, Black Ring Ritual. I'm going to play some tunes, and by tunes I mean one tune. Here's Tone Loc on Fire. 1989, still going hard. Loked After Dark, Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9, Moorhead, Fargo. Welcome. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is what you have been listening to this hour. I'll leave you with Stinky Arts Music Mart right after this. Locals on the 8, Radio Free Madness, and then Black Ring Ritual. Right before me was Side Stage every Thursday, 1 to 3. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy, blackcottagealchemy.com, Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. You can go right downtown here to Tochi Products, scoot yourself in there, and pick up some of this stuff. It's made with kosher full-spectrum CBD, North Dakota-grown hemp seed oil, 1,600 milligrams of CBD, and that's a lot. Mango butter, shea butter, cocoa butter, beeswax, coconut oil, colloidal silver, which is great for you, comfrey, myrrh, frankincense, because it's Christmas time, sage, and rosemary. It works for neuropathy, pain, anti-itch, stretch marks, boils, etc., rough feet, and you name it. Go get you some of that. Tochi Products, blackcottagealchemy.com. Sponsors this show. Thank you very much. Orange Records and Tochi also has Indie for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition, so get in there and sign that. And again, come on back next Thursday. Get yourself another dosey dose of the Canna-Talk ND with Wilson program. I'm Wilson. I'm going to get in here at 4 o'clock. I'll talk about cannabis specifically and concentratedly. Say an extract of cannabis legalization discussion at 4:20 till about 4:45, 4:50. And then there's programming to follow on the best independent radio station in the world as far as I'm concerned. So again, enjoy your day. It's pretty nice out if you're in Fargo, North Dakota. Shout out to all you people listening to independent radio. You know where it's at, and I salute you. Educate yourself so you can educate others on the benefits of cannabis. And I'm going to jump out of here. I'll see you crazy cats right back here at KRFF 95.9 next Thursday, 4 o'clock sharp. But until then, it's David Allen. Judgment Day. Peace.